This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show. Coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio, Sirius XM, Channel 80. Number to call up as always is 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. 866-SAY-ESPN. Jam-packed show coming your way. Lots of stuff to get into. Stuff that, to be quite honest with you, is simply unavoidable. I mean, we got to have a serious big-time discussion about what's going on. And don't you worry. I'll get into the Dodgers being in the World Series. I'll get into the Yankees being out of the World Series. I'll get into quite a few things, to be quite honest with you. And I'm looking forward to doing just that. But the first order of business is this NFL landscape and what's going on. What's going on in the National Football League. Because I got to tell y'all something right now. We've seen a few quarterbacks. We talked about Dak Prescott last year. We've talked a lot about Jared Goff this year. We talked a lot about a lot of this stuff. You know what we haven't talked nearly enough about? Carson Wentz. We haven't done it. And the fact of the matter is, we might have to pay attention to this young brother. We might have to sit up there and look at a guy like Carson Wentz and say to ourselves, excuse me, this brother can play. This brother can play. And by the way, while we're sitting there talking about that, it may behoove us to start talking about the Philadelphia Eagles in an entirely different light. These are just things that we have to do. Because this team, this Philadelphia Eagles team is no joke. We got to call it like it is. This kid, Corey Clement, catches a touchdown pass with Carson Wentz sandwiched between two defenders. Zach Ertz looking like a stud at the tight end spot. That can't be ignored. We got to pay attention to all of that stuff. We have no choice. If we're being honest and sincere about what we're looking at right now, if we're being honest and sincere about it, you know what we got to do? We got to take those things into consideration and recognize that the Philadelphia Eagles might be the best team in the NFC. I know Los Angeles Rams fans are saying, hell no. They got LeGarrette Blount and some dude named Wendell Smallwood. We got Todd Gurley. Yeah, they may have Alshon Jeffrey, but we got Sammy Watkins and Robert Woods. Yeah, their defense is good, but they rank 29th against the pass. Have you seen the personnel on the defensive side of the ball for us? You're the Los Angeles Rams. You're taking that position. You're taking that position. When I look at a guy like Carson Wentz, it makes me sick to my stomach that the New York Jets can't find a quarterback, that the Giants appear to have no heir apparent to Eli Manning, that the Chargers don't seem to be looking for an heir apparent to Phillip Rivers, that Cleveland could pass up on Wentz. And you got this dude, DeShaun Kaiser, making news more for being in bars than what he's doing on a football field. These are problems. But what I'm saying is this. The Philadelphia Eagles are a legitimate threat. And it does make me ask questions about the Washington Redskins with Carson Wentz as well. When I look at a guy with Kirk Cousins, when I look at a Kirk Cousins, ladies and gentlemen, I see a dude that can play. I see a dude that really, he can play. He's complete damn near 68% of his passes. But everything about him and the Redskins tells me slightly above average. From the running back position, from the wideout spot with Crowder, from the tight end spot with Jordan Reed. Defensively without Josh Norman. That's what happened last night. See, when we look at what Carson Wentz, and we see that 64-yard bomb that he threw to Hollins, you know what I thought about? That wasn't Josh Norman out there. That was some dude named DJ Swearinger, who had a rough night in the secondary. That's what I see. That's what I see. I don't know what else to make of that. I know Carson Wentz can play. I know he's got some skills. I know he's got some heart, nothing but love and respect. But I do think that people may be getting a bit overblown with this. And by the way, The Eagles lost Jason Peters at left tackle yesterday. That could potentially be a devastating loss. If everybody wanted to make a big deal about them losing Lane Johnson at right tackle, well, damn it, left tackle is Carson Wentz's blind side. And Peters, the anchor of that offensive line, has gone down. I mean, did you see them brothers out there? They were practically crying. And it's official. He's out for the year, torn ACL, MCL. So he's done. Carson Wentz's blind side is now in jeopardy. By the way, LeGarrette Blount and Wendell Smallwood didn't have the greatest day running the football last night, even though I think both are studs in their own right. Eagles are a threat. Eagles are a legitimate threat. But I'm looking around the NFC, and I got questions. Question number one, what if Dallas gets their act together because Ezekiel Elliott and the imminent suspension no longer appears imminent and you know he's going to play? Will he be the distraction that he's been? And if not, how will the Dallas Cowboys look? In the NFC North, what if Aaron Rodgers is able to come back for the last 3 games of the regular season? And even if he doesn't, what about Minnesota with that defense? What if Teddy Bridgewater comes back? What about the Detroit Lions? Matthew Stafford is the highest paid player in the game at $27 million right now. What about him? Look in the South. Atlanta is not a team to believe in based on what we've seen. But they are a team to believe in based on their personnel. So Keyshawn is the new offensive coordinator. And I got to make sure to ask my man Keyshawn Johnson about this later on when he comes on the show today. I mean, Sarkisian is a first-time coordinator on the NFL level. Maybe the novice that he is causing them problems in the ATL. But I don't understand how a team with Julio Jones and Mohamed Sanu and Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman with Matty Ice, Matt Ryan, your reigning league MVP as your quarterback, with a decent offensive line is having these many damn problems. I don't understand it. I don't get it. And by the way, I don't care what anybody says. I'm going to reiterate what I said yesterday. You are the Atlanta Falcons. I don't give a damn what team you're playing. Even if it is the New England Patriots, to be up 28-3 in a Super Bowl, and then over the course of the next 6 quarters, spanning the Super Bowl combined with Sunday night's game, you get outscored 54-0 before Julio Jones reeled in a meaningless touchdown with 4 minutes and 9 seconds left. Let me tell you something right now. That is inexcusable. That is inexcusable. You're the Atlanta Falcons. You better than that. Cam, I don't know. And oh, by the way, we talking about Atlanta and Carolina all the time in the NFC South. Drew Brees is in first place. Drew Brees. Now, do I believe in the New Orleans Saints? Hell no. But I do believe in Drew Brees in that offense. I believe in any offense led by Drew Brees. And I got to tell you, looking at them, they're going to have something to say. I knew Tampa wouldn't be ready. They're just a year or two away. And in the case of the NFC West, Jared Goff has been really good. So has Gurley. Sean McVay is the leading candidate for Coach of the Year. There's no question about this. I don't even think there's anybody else in the conversation. I mean, maybe Doug Peterson, but not to the degree that Sean McVay is in there. Because looking at Sean McVay, let's be real, he's done a hell of a job. What I think he's highlighted is what a coach is supposed to look like. Clearly, I was absolutely positively 1,000% correct that Jeff Fisher needed to go. I look like a damn prophet. But there's a lot to talk about. And here's the big question. Here's the $64 million question when it comes to Carson Wentz. It ain't just about the young quarterbacks in the game. If you had your choice, who you picking? Wentz, Dak Prescott, or Jared Goff? I can't believe I'm putting Jared Goff in that conversation, but he deserves it for the moment. All of those things are things to talk about. And we will as the show progresses today. 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. 866-SAY-ESPN. That's topic number one. Other topics to point out. Little baseball. Dodgers in the World Series. Yankees ain't. Houston, what kind of damage could they do? I'm all purpose. I'm willing to listen. NBA season is unfolding. D-Wade decides to go to the bench. Everybody talk about the Greek freak and he's the man anybody would want to start their franchise with. I say not. I'll explain why as the show progresses. And, of course, I plan on bringing up Sam Darnold with Keyshawn Johnson as well. Because, damn it, USC, you got some explaining to do. All this noise about the Heisman Trophy. Brother got 10 interceptions. And we ain't even arrived at Halloween yet. I mean, damn. 866-SAY-ESPN. The Stephen A. Smith Show coming at you live right here on the ESPN Radio.
Want to be a part of the show? Hit Stephen A. up weekdays from 1 to 3 Eastern at 866-729-3776. You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
You know, we look at the landscape of the NFL right now. Let's pay attention to all of this. And again, I'm going to get into the Dodgers. I'm going to get into the Yankees being gone. Dodgers still being there. But if we look at the NFL, let's stick to the NFL for just a second here. And oh, by the way, New York Knicks fans, I got some news for you. You can have Eric Bledsoe. You don't want him. I'll explain why a little bit later on in the show. I ain't going to tell you right now. I'll save it for a little later. But you can get Eric Bledsoe. I'll just leave it at that. But let me get back to the NFL for a second. Because here's the deal. I asked a question about Carson Wentz, Dak Prescott. You want to throw Jared Goff in there, even though I don't think he deserves to be mentioned in the same breath as those two, but that's fine. But the other question about it, have y'all looked at the NFL landscape right now? You know how many teams are in the playoffs that would be in the playoffs right now that weren't there last year? First of all, you got the Eagles. Nobody was anticipating they'd be in the postseason. They'd be there right now. You got New Orleans. Nobody was anticipating they'd be in the picture. As horrid as their defense has been in recent memory, they're there now. The Los Angeles Rams will be in the playoffs. I'll be damned if anybody predicted that. Or maybe a caller or two, but that's about it. Nobody else thought they were going to the postseason, right? You got that going on. Houston's there, but they're there for different reasons than one would expect. Their defense was supposed to be the reason, but it's DeShaun Watson with that offense. And speaking of DeShaun Watson, New York Jets fans, how do you feel about the fact that y'all passed up on this brother? Because we got caught up in all the hype. You know what? I got to call Mel Kiper Jr. and the Todd McShays of the world and the Paul Feinbaums of the world to the carpet on all of this. Because, damn it, ladies and gentlemen, they're very influential people. They're renowned experts and phenomenal at what they do. And I don't think they gave DeShaun Watson enough love, which contributed to NFL scouts being suspect on him, which contributed to him falling as low as 12, when one could have argued he could have been a number 2 pick instead of Mitchell Trubisky. Because if you're Chicago, how are you feeling? I don't give a damn that they just beat Carolina or that they beat Pittsburgh earlier, even though Trubisky wasn't starting in that game. What I care about is the fact the man threw the ball 7 times, completed 4 passes, and got sacked 4 times, and they still won the damn game because Carolina couldn't score more than 3 points. This guy is not DeShaun Watson, who's a national champion and a winner. You're the New York Jets. Let me be very clear. I love Jamal Adams out of LSU. This brother's nice. Got 2 sacks on the year, 26 tackles overall. But one would argue the kid out of Florida, Marcus May, is just as good as him. Either way you slice it, as good as Jamal Adams can be and may be, as good as Marcus May be, y'all trying to tell me y'all wouldn't have rather see DeShaun Watson behind center at quarterback for the New York Jets right now? If we being real, if we being honest, come on, y'all. Jet fans everywhere, you know what time it is. You trying to tell me that you didn't wish that the New York Giants had wet the bed last year so they could grab this guy and he could be the heir apparent to Eli Manning? Because you clearly don't have one. These are just questions. Just questions. 866-SAY-ESPN is the number to call. That's 866-729-3776. To the phones we go. Eric, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, man.
Hey, Stephen A., thanks for taking the call. About Carson Wentz, Donovan McNabb made some comments saying that he thought Jared Goff might be the best QB in the NFC. Do you think he's partially just saying that because he might be scared of his legacy being forgotten if Wentz takes off? I mean, I'm a diehard Eagles fan.
No, hold it. Let me answer your question first. Here's why I don't believe that's the case. First of all, he said that a couple of weeks ago. He didn't say that 2 days or yesterday when he was talking about Carson Wentz. Number two, and more importantly, I don't think he's scared about his own legacy. I think that Donovan McNabb is a prisoner to what most former stars are prisoners to. And that's in any sport, Eric. Every athlete that I've ever covered that's a nominee or destined to be a nominee or destined to be a Hall of Famer have religiously said this. They hate when the accountability factor is lessened for successors than it was for them. It's not that you don't want the person to succeed. It's not that you're rooting for them to fail. You hate the notion of somebody having an easier path to prosperity than you had to endure. I don't care what athlete you pick. They always resent that. They always resent when their innate belief is based on what they're seeing, that the road to prosperity has been paved easier for successors than it is for them. They're like, judge him by the same standard you judged us. They all think like that. That answers your question. Go ahead.
You know, he had great defense. McNabb, it wasn't like it was the toughest thing in the world for McNabb. Went to the NFC Finals.
Oh, hold on. Stop. Eric, are you a Philadelphia Eagles fan?
Diehard.
All right. Well, then you know good and damn well I'm not talking about what's on the field. Come on, you know what Donovan went through. You know Angelo Cataldi and those boys for radio. They had busloads of people to go to New York City for the draft just to boo Donovan being picked number 2 overall. You know the kind of standards he was held to. I'm not saying that Wentz is not going to have to go through that. I'm saying you know better than to bring up football when you know good and damn well what I'm talking about if you know anything about the Eagles and Donovan McNabb. It was the stuff beyond the field that he had to endure. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, I'm 32 years old right now. Back then, I guess I was kind of oblivious to that. I just worried about
that's
football.
Fair. That's fair. No, I was just talking about the fair. I wasn't talking about anything socially. I'm talking about, at the way they booed him. Because back then, Eric, just so you didn't know, because you was a young puppy, breath smelling like Similac wet behind the ears, per se. I mean that affectionately. The fact is, Donovan McNabb was drafted at a time when everybody in Philadelphia wanted the Eagles to draft Ricky Williams.
Yeah.
And Mike Ditka had the Saints surrender all of those picks to move up in the draft to get Ricky Williams.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that was about. Take it easy. Appreciate the call. Mike in L.A., you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead. Go ahead,
What's
Mike.
going on, Stephen A?
I'm good. Talk to me. Go ahead.
Hey, I want to start off by saying sorry about your Yankees, man. I really wanted that Dodgers-Yankees for us.
I really did, man. They let me down. I mean, this kid Mullers throws 28 straight curveballs, and the Yankees did nothing about it. I don't understand it. I really don't. But go ahead.
Baseball, man, but that's not what I want to talk about. But anyway, with Peters going down, man, I think the Rams are the most complete team in the league, man. You look at the NFC, man. The only question I'll have about the Rams, their coach uses the timeouts too fast. Everyone else in the NFC, they have major question marks. Even the AFC, man, every single contender in the AFC has their own question marks. I don't see none with the Rams. I really don't.
You may be right, but I guess what I'm saying, you know what? From a talent perspective, I don't have too many questions about the Rams. What I would say to you is that they haven't been there. It would be nice to see what they'll do. I'm curious as to what they'll do once they get there, but they haven't been there yet, so I need to see that. That's what I would say.
That'll show how far they came.
Exactly. Until then, we just don't know. Appreciate the call. Vince, you're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, Vince?
Hey, what's up, Steve? This Carson Wentz, man, what a player this guy is. If I'm a Cleveland fan, the general manager or whatever that guy's name,
Sashi Brown.
Well, I tell you what.
And DePodesta.
Let me tell you something. All of his stuff, and I want to use another S, but all of his stuff would be parked outside in a box right now this morning if I saw that game last night. Carson Wentz is the best young quarterback, given what he's done in this, year and 6 games? Yep. I haven't seen anybody that good in years. if
not even Dak Prescott, not even Dak Prescott.
No. Would you take? Who would you take? I
think it's a toss-up right now. I think it's a toss-up. I don't think it's as easy as you're making it out to be.
The only thing, because I'm not going to take up a lot of your time, because I watched that kid last night and he was slinging. The only thing I'm going to say to you, the last thing I'm going to say, if I'm a Cleveland Brown fan, them executives at Cleveland, they should be in witness protection program because they will be fired. They should be gotten rid of today. Thanks a lot, Steve.
I appreciate it. They moved down. They traded. They needed more of an arsenal. They wanted to get excessive bodies. Hasn't appeared to work out. I think they were all in trouble right now. Hugh Jackson, Sashi Brown, D. Podesta. I mean, you're 1-23 over the last 2 years. I mean, how much can you expect the city of Cleveland to take? Seriously.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast. Damn it, I mean it!
Let's go to Chase in Africa. He must be listening online. I mean, talk about international reach. What's going on, Chase? How are you?
Hey, how you doing, Steve? Yeah, I'm all right. And yourself?
I'm all right. Where are you?
I'm in Cameroon, Africa. I just came here to visit some family for a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Actually, I go to Auburn, but I'm right now I'm in Africa, call from Africa, so yeah.
All right, I appreciate the call. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, I got two questions if you don't mind. First question, do you believe Carson Wentz, I'm a huge Patriots fan. Do you believe Carson Wentz is the front runner for the MVP right now?
Carson Wentz?
Yeah.
I'd put this kid Hunt out of Kansas City right up there. I got to give him some love. I can't ignore what I've seen Tom Brady do. We never can do that. Carson Wentz is up there, though. They got the best record in football.
Okay.
So we do have to give him some love.
Okay, yeah. And last question. So I don't know if you remember last week you were talking about how Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers, how they're possibly done. Do you remember you saying that last week? It was on your radio show.
I don't.
Yeah. You said that last week. But like I feel like nobody. There's one quarterback nobody is talking about, and for like the longest, I feel like he's been overrated, and it's Joe Flacco. He's completely garbage.
Well, let's start right there. I'm inclined to believe you in terms of him being Joe Flacco instead of Flacco. Here's where it gets a little interesting, however. He's got nothing to work with, man. And now Mike Wallace was in concussion protocol, too. He's got nothing to work with, Chase. Nothing. No running game, barely any receivers, suspect offensive line. I'm no fan of Joe Flacco, but I don't want to condemn him unnecessarily either. I want to be fair. And I got to ask a legitimate question. What is there for him to work with?
Yeah, but the thing is, Stephen A., like every year he's been in the league, he's had over 10 interceptions. Like it's just ridiculous. I don't understand.
That's fair, but the point is, again, first of all, 10 is not a lot in the NFL these days, okay? That's less than 2 a game. That's number one. Number two, for 6 out of a 7-year period until 3 years ago, he had gone to the playoffs. We can't ignore that either. And then we also have to take into consideration that, again, what are you working with? We can talk about him all we want to, but if you look at what they have available for him, he doesn't have much. And that's what I'm trying to say. I mean, I'm looking at it. Your running back is who? Javorius Allen? I mean, who's your running back?
You're right.
I mean, Alex Collins? I mean, who do you got? From a receiver standpoint, your leading receiver is Mike Wallace with 248 yards. And he's only got 16 receptions. And that was in 7 games. Not 7 complete games because he went out a little bit early this past Sunday. Your next leading receiver is Ben Watson. Who's your tight end? I mean, what do you have? You don't have much, and that's the difference. Appreciate the call, man. Rick/Skip. I knew you'd call. What's up, big baby? Yo, the wife gave you permission to call, huh? She gave you permission to call today? That she did?
Hey, listen, she told me to call you today to talk about Wentz. And you know Dak is the best man, you know.
How do you know? How do you know, Rick? How do you know?
You know.
How do you know?
Come on, man.
Come on, man. He's six. Is Dak 6-1?
Wentz is the truth. Wentz is the truth.
Okay.
He's been the truth since college. I don't know why they slept on him. If he wasn't in Division II, he would have had national titles in Division I.
Stop right there. Stop. Rick, why you going to lie to American people like that? You know good and damn well you didn't know anything about Wentz at North Dakota State. Stop.
I knew a lot.
You know you weren't watching him in no North Dakota State. Stop it.
Come on, man. I used to live up in North Dakota.
Oh, please. Please. Come on, Rick. Come on, Rick. You're lying, Rick. You're lying.
What's with the truth? I'm not lying to you. You know what I'm saying? I knew about him. You know, I know a lot of people up in the North Dakota. They always told me about him. And, you know, they slept on him. You know, and I only want to get into the technical of that. You know, it's something up with that, but don't worry about that. Listen. Cowboys is going to be what they are. You know, we trying to get our running game together. The offensive line was hurt a little bit, so I don't know why you're sleeping on it.
Did you just say, hold on. Did you just say the Cowboys are going to be what we are? Is that what you just said? Is that what you just said? You mean a team that steals headlines all during the regular season and then lose come to playoffs? You mean that Cowboys team? Is that who they going to be?
That Cowboys team.
Man, goodbye. Goodbye, Rick. Have a nice day. You're hilarious. Terrence, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
Hey, Stephen A., thank you. God bless you, brother. Look, Carson Wentz, Philadelphia. How in the world, please tell the rest of the analysts to stop letting Jerry Jones and Jason, the coach, off the hook, man. I'm sorry. I grew up winning Super Bowls. This man has toured it and messed this team up. He don't know what he's doing. The coach has been there 8 years and won one playoff game. What coach in NFL has kept a job but the man from Cincinnati, Marvin?
I was getting ready to say Marvin Lewis has done it.
Only one, man. Only one, cuz. And I believe I love the Cowboys, man. I'll put the star on my daggone tombstone when I die. But I am so sick of this mess. It is unreal. These guys are only thing they doing is selling tickets. They ain't trying to win no championship. Come on, man. Please tell the rest of the guys to stop letting them off the hook and call it like a TI is. Thank you, bro.
Take it easy. No problem. I'm sorry that you felt the need to vent that way. I understand. But I do get it. I mean, we're looking at Jason Garrett, who's been there since 2010. Part of the 2010 season, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 full seasons. This is his 7th season. The man's got 1 playoff victory and 2 playoff appearances. I do get where he's coming from. 866, say ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. More to Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio in a minute.
Give Stephen A. piece of your mind.
He is sorry.
Call him weekdays from 1 till 3 Eastern.
I mean, just trash.
At 866-729-3776. Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it. Back to the phones we go. Right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Remember, hour number 2, I'm going to get into a couple of things. Number 1, I want to have a conversation about if you had an opportunity to start your franchise, who would it be with? Would it be with the Greek Freak or somebody else right now? So many people are raving about the Greek Freak. He's averaging 36 as we speak, like 36, 13, whatever. I've got somebody else that I would pick. I got somebody else that I would start my franchise with. Even at this particular juncture, seeing what I've seen from the Greek Freak himself. 866-729-ESPN. It's 866-SAY-ESPN. We had that conversation. Looking forward to it. Let's go to Stacy. You're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, what's up, Stephen A? Hey, man, happy belated 50th birthday. I just turned 50 myself, so I know how it feels.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I wish I was old. I was older. I'd be closer to retirement. Go ahead.
Boy, you crazy. If you had, of these young quarterbacks, Stephen A, Dak Prescott, Carson Wentz, Jared Goff, DeShaun Watson, Mitchell Trubisky, if you were a GM right now and all of them were in the draft, who would you start your team with as far as those five. If you thought they were going to be a franchise quarterback,
it's tough for me to make that call, but it would be between Dak and Carson Wentz.
Tell me why.
I just think that they're mistake-free. DeShaun Watson is a stud. I think he's got that it factor, but he's a chance taker as well. I think that Dak Prescott, and to a lesser degree, Carson Wentz, are a bit more cautious. They're slightly more efficient, but again, it's not fair because this is both of their second seasons where DeShaun Watson has only played about 3 or 4 games. I may feel differently after he's had the same amount of time under his belt because I like DeShaun Watson that much, but for the moment, it would be between Dak and Wentz.
But I also heard you say when I forget the coach who was with the Rams,
Jeff Fisher,
really. He threw Jared Goff under the bus.
Oh, please! He throws everybody. He threw Vince Young under the bus. But what I would tell you is this: I think the combination of St. Louis's defense combined with not just the defense, but Todd Gurley and Watkins and those boys being there, I think the combination of all of that is what lends me to take a little bit away from what I've seen from Goff.
Gotcha. All right, brother. Have a good day, man. Take care.
Take it easy, my man. Let's go to Jim. You're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up?
Hey, Stephen A. I'd love to hear you elaborate a little bit on what you mentioned about 2 segments ago with some of the star athletes. And I don't want to speak for you, but paraphrasing, as they leave, they're happy with somebody replacing them, but they want to be sure that they're held to the same standard they were. They want an even playing field. And then they'll be fine with somebody taking their shoes.
Hold on, you said you want me to elaborate on that?
Yes, please.
Yes, what I was saying is that I don't care who you are as a marquee former athlete. When you endure tough criticisms and critiques, the number one thing you look for is, do they have to go through the same thing you had to go through? Or are excuses or mulligans thrown in their direction to offset the cynicism? Every marquee athlete I've ever covered, even with Joe Montana, when everybody raved about Steve Young, Joe Montana was like, okay, what did he go through? Did he go through what I had to go through? If it's Troy Aikman, you're looking at somebody from the future. Did you have to go through what I went through? If you're talking about him like that. If it's Donovan McNabb, you're thinking about Carson Wentz. You're talking about the same thing. The list goes on and on. Guys who were stars, who had to endure skepticism and cynicism, they monitor whether or not guys had to go through. In basketball, for example, Jim, that I cover, obviously extensively, many, many Hall of Famers feels that excuses are always made for LeBron James. I'm thinking he's one of the greatest ever. He's a freak of nature. He's been to 7 straight NBA finals, blah, 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 blah. They say, Stephen A., if we waited till the fourth quarter to accept a tough defensive assignment, if we couldn't close and had somebody to close for us, you never hold us. You never give us a pass on that. Why are they getting a pass? These are the kind of things that Hall of Famers have said to me about LeBron James. So what I'm saying to you is that no matter what sport it is, anytime you have a star, a marquee, anytime there's a successor to that person, they always are cognizant as to how that person is being judged in comparison to how they were being judged.
Can I ask a follow-on?
Sure.
Do you think there's irony at all in the same folks who espouse liberal ideologies essentially advocating for a meritocracy when it applies to them in their athletic endeavors?
Good question. I don't think that's a bad question. I'm not going to restrict it to liberals. I think the same could be said for conservatives to some degree. But what I will tell you that conservatives repeatedly complain about, because I know many of them, although I'm not one. I have some conservative views, but I'm not conservative. A lot of conservatives, one of the real issues they complain about, which I think is an impediment to the success that this country could reap, is that on far too many occasions, instead of dealing with the real issues, it's constantly, well, if this were the left, y'all wouldn't be doing it. You're doing it because you're the liberal media and we're the right. But if it was somebody on the left, they wouldn't have to go through it. And they're able to sit up there and bloviate about how progressive they are and how we should be moving forward and how we should be open-minded about so many things. But the second you don't agree with them, you're a racist or you're this or you're that or you're xenophobic or whatever the case may be. Conservatives do complain about that an awful lot. So you do have it going on both sides, but I do get your point. I really do.
Sure, I appreciate it. I really, really like your take, and thanks for your time.
Thank you. 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. That's 866-SAY-ESPN. Hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show coming up. Got lots of stuff to get into. Got to talk about D. Wade in Cleveland again. Got to talk about the Greek Freak and what we're seeing from this dude for the Milwaukee Bucks and whether or not he should be considered the best player in the NBA or the player that you would pick to start a franchise with. Also some news out of Phoenix in regards to Eric Bledsoe. There's still some NFL stuff to get into, and, of course, the Dodgers, why they're in the World Series, why the Yankees are not, and where both go from here. 866-SAY-ESPN. Hour number 2 coming your way up next on the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio, along with Keyshawn Johnson. Don't touch that dial.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.
Check out ESPN Film's newly released 30 for 30 podcast. From the producers of our award-winning documentary series, this is an amazing collection of sports stories you need to hear to believe. Speaking of amazing, Delta Airlines and the Fly Delta app make your travel experience amazingly easy with real-time bag tracking, e-boarding, and passport scanning during check-in. And don't forget to download 30 for 30 podcast to fill your flight with stories that will keep you coming back for more.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show right here on ESPN Radio. Always my honor and privilege to talk to my next guest, the man, the myth, the legend. He's got some explaining to do about USC, but we got some other things to get into first. The one and only Keyshawn Johnson, co-host of your morning drive show on 710 ESPN LA. What's up, big time? How are you, man?
What's happening, Stephen? Oh, nothing. Chilling, just trying to get through that loss. That's all.
I figured,
trying to get through it.
I'll get to USC in a minute. But let me ask you first on the NFL in terms of what you saw last night from Carson Wentz and the Philadelphia Eagles. Are you? Should we be ready to crown these boys as the best team in the NFC? And if so, why? If not, why not?
Well, as Bill Parcells would say, you are what your record is.
Mm-hmm.
So if they got the best record in the NFC, why wouldn't they be the best team in the NFC? I think when you look at the NFC as a whole, you got Seattle, you got the Rams, you got Minnesota. We don't know what Green Bay is now. Washington looked pretty good. We don't necessarily know Detroit. Atlanta looks like Atlanta, the old post-Michael Vick, and the New Orleans Saints is getting better. So when you start breaking all those teams down, I still would say Seattle's the favorite for me in the conference, but Philadelphia is a second and very close.
Why is Seattle ahead of Philadelphia in your mind, Keyshawn?
Experience, been there, done that. Start off slow every single year. Make you always talk about their offense every year. Even when they won the Super Bowl, you were talking about their offense. Even when they went to the Super Bowl and lost, you were talking about their offense. You never question their defense. They've always had question marks about the offense, so it's nothing new to me.
Could you explain to me why the Atlanta Falcons, the reigning NFC champions, look so – they just don't look – they don't even look like they're there. I don't even recognize this team right now. What's up with them?
You know what I think, Stephen? I think what it really boils down to is there's a new offensive coordinator in town, and he hasn't – although when they went out and Dan Quinn went out and hired him, he hired him thinking, okay, it's going to be the same West Coast offense, all that, fine and dandy. But yet and still, you don't call the games the same. He's not Shanahan. Shanahan's not him. The way Shanahan called the game is different than the way Sark calls the game. It's not that Sark's a bad coach. It's just that the difference in what we saw a year ago is a major difference because Shanahan stretched the field. He put the ball in Julio Jones' hands down the field. He utilized all of the weapons, and I think Sark is still getting accustomed to doing that. Now, remember, this is his first time.
Mm-hmm. I understand this is his first time, but at the same time, considering what he went through at USC, and then ultimately he ended up at Alabama. Now he sits up there and he's with the Atlanta Falcons. Isn't it safe? I mean, considering the weapons that he has at his disposal, isn't it fair to say you expected more from him with Atlanta?
I think you expected more from him because he has a resume that says extraordinary play caller based on national championship runs and what he was able to do in a short time in Alabama. I mean, you just figured, okay, he's a good play caller. But the NFL is a lot different than college ball. This is the first time he's called plays as a professional coordinator. So there's a big difference there, and he needs to get in sync and go back. This is what I would do if I was him. I would go back and look at some of the things. I would check my ego at the door, go back and look at some of the positive things that Shanahan did when he was the offensive coordinator in Atlanta and try and install some of those some of that into your game plan, and ask Matt Ryan, what are you comfortable with?
Former star USC, New York Jet, Dallas Cowboy, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Super Bowl champion with the Buccaneers, the one and only Keyshawn Johnson right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Let's stay in the NFC for a second there. When we look at Kirk Cousins, how are we supposed to feel about this guy? Could you give me an example? How are we supposed to feel about this guy? I don't see a franchise quarterback. I see somebody that's very good. I see somebody that could be effective. I'm just not sold that he's that dude, that franchise caliber quarterback. Could you talk to me about that, please?
Is he Matthew Stafford?
Wow.
Is he Matthew Stafford?
You know what? I would say no because he hasn't had as many comeback wins in the fourth quarter. How about that?
Okay. Well, to me, he's Matthew Stafford. He's a guy who can put up some numbers, who does some things, and because of that, the market is going to set where he gets paid by somebody. Now, what that somebody is, who that somebody is, I have no idea. Okay. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not Tom Brady. He's not a healthy Cam Newton. He's none of those guys. But because he plays a position where there's only a handful of exceptional guys, he gets pushed up to the top. I mean, that's part of it. That's what it is. I mean, look, the guy Mike Glennon got, $13 million?
Yep.
And he won't see the field again.
That's fair.
As an NFL starting quarterback.
That's fair.
So you know what it is. I mean, it is what it is. That's now some teams, whether it's the San Francisco 49ers or whomever, will pay him the type of money that these quarterbacks are getting.
Keyshawn Johnson.
Some coach, Stephen A., will bet on their careers with him at quarterback.
Keyshawn Johnson right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Let's stay in the NFC for one more thing. Cam Newton, what have your thoughts been about his play? I expected more from him. Don't know if he's to blame, but Carolina certainly doesn't look the same. Couldn't score but 3 points against Chicago this past week. And talk to me about that for a quick second.
Here's what I would say, just knowing, playing in the NFL and being around the league for quite some time and covering it now, coaches get enamored with toys. They went out a year ago, and they didn't play very well. So they went and got Samuel. They went and got McCaffrey. Yep. They kind of retool what they do offensively. And because of that, they start doing different things. Instead of just saying, what did we do in 2015 that was successful that got us to the Super Bowl? Mm-hmm. That's what they need to be doing. They need to be doing the things that got them to be successful in 2015. Cam Newton is coming back off injury. We all know that. 2 weeks ago, he looked like Cam Newton 2015. A week ago, he looked like Cam Newton of a year ago. So I think he's still trying to figure out what's his place in this offense and what they're doing now.
Keyshawn Johnson right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Let's transition to the AFC for a quick second. Once upon a time, we were assuming the New England Patriots are the best team in the conference. One would still assume that's the case, but I see the Steelers coming. But I'm worried with Martavis Bryant claiming he wants to be traded. What do you make of all of this?
Well, I think, I guess I would be the poster child for disgruntled wide receivers, most people would say.
Yes. You're up there. You're up there.
Even though I never said those things myself, I think when you look at Martavis Bryant, who's been suspended a couple times, he's certainly looking at his opportunity to cash in and get the big bucks. And if he doesn't get the touches and the numbers and show what he's able to do, then guess what? He's going to be a bargain for somebody. So I understand where he's coming from. Mm-hmm. But certainly at the beginning of this year, when they drafted Juju Smith-Schuster from USC,
right,
the writing was on the wall on what they felt about Bryant.
But was it really, Keyshawn? I mean, we can't trust him. You can't trust him.
No, that's what I just said.
Right.
Absolutely, it was on the wall because I had conversations with some people in Pittsburgh inside the organization, and one of our conversations, we were talking about Juju prior to drafting him, and one of the things they said, we can't trust this dude, man. We can't go out here and not know if he's going to even show up the next day. So I certainly understand those sort of things. He's got to keep working, doing his job, keep his mouth closed, and eventually he'll get his wish, which is either be traded or hit the market so he can get his money.
Keyshawn, before I let you get on out of here, I'm going to tell you somebody else who can't be trusted. It appears to be Sam Darnold at USC. You're 6-2. The brother's got 10 interceptions on the year. We were talking Heisman before the season began. What the hell is going on with your old program at USC, and specifically him? I expected more, Keyshawn. I expected more.
We all expected more, Stephen. When you think about it, we came into the season with all the hype, all the glory, coming off a big victory, come back and win against Penn State. Sam Darnold hit Deontay Burnett at the end of the game. We roll into the 2017 season, Heisman Trophy, number one pick, yada, 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 yada. Yet still, it hasn't turned out quite like we probably envisioned it to, but we still sitting with a positive record. We still got a chance to win the Pac-12, and I know I sound like a coach, but we are a year ahead. We're a year ahead of schedule.
And when you're a year ahead of
schedule,
a year ahead? Did you just say that?
Yeah.
Tell the truth. You laughing over the phone, ain't you? A year ahead of schedule with all the expectations?
You're talking about a redshirt sophomore quarterback.
Okay.
You're talking about a mixed up line that's in and out of the lineup, hurt here and there. You're talking about a wide receivers that are either freshmen or redshirt freshmen outside of Deontay Burnett. You're talking about young offense. You're talking about young, man. This is not a old team. One of the things that he's missing is Darius Rogers and Juju Smith-Schuster on the outside. He's missing them, and he hasn't been able to make that adjustment. We don't have a tight end. We thought Umabebe would be the guy, but he's been in and out of the lineup. But we are still in a hunt to win the Pac-12 and go to a major bowl game. That's all we can hope for right now. Yes, it's embarrassing to get your butt kicked 49 or whatever the score was against Notre Dame, which, to me, you know that Notre Dame is going to run the football and that quarterback can't hit the side of a bus. But for whatever reason, we couldn't stop the run, and the throws that he made, he hit. And now, look at us. Now we got all y'all running around talking about Notre Dame in the Final Four. Notre Dame
don't say all of y'all. Ain't nobody saying that. Anybody think about Notre Dame in the top four. You know good and well that's not true. Stop it. You're being a homer right now.
They running around on TV. Oh, if Notre Dame runs the table, they're going to play in a championship.
Oh, my goodness.
That's what they saying.
All right, let me ask you this. I got 10 seconds. Sam Darnold should stay in school or come out.
It depends on what the last 5 games look like, because like I said before, if he comes out, he needs to go to a San Diego Charger and sit behind a Phillip Rivers. He needs to go to a Denver Bronco. He needs to go to like a New England Patriot, a New York Giant, sit behind Eli Manning. He doesn't need to go to a team that needs him to play right now because he's not ready right now.
All right. I trust your objectivity on that one, Keyshawn. I'm actually proud of it. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it, man.
All I can do is tell you go Dodgers, though. Go Dodgers.
Go Dodgers. Well, we'll see what the Dodgers do. They should win. I bet you that much. They should win. Take it easy, Keith. Thanks a lot, bro.
All right. See you later.
One and only Keyshawn Johnson right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio, 866-729-ESPN. There's always a number to call him. That's 866. Say ESPN. Notice he slid in that last comment about the Dodgers. You know why, right? Because that's the only damn thing he's got to cheer for right now. Other than the Rams. Got to give them some love. At least a little bit. Back with more of the Stephen A. Smith Show in a minute.
Catch the Stephen A. Smith Show live on 98.7 ESPN New York, ESPN LA 710, and Sirius XM Channel 80.
You just can't make this stuff up.
Weekdays from 1 to 3 Eastern. You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Thanks again to Keyshawn Johnson, former star at USC, former number 1 overall pick of the New York Jets, former Dallas Cowboy, former Super Bowl champion with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Thanks again to him for coming on the show, talking with us about a few things. We appreciate that. Number to call up, as always, is 866-729-ESPN. That's 866. Say ESPN. I'll get back to some football, some NFL stuff in a minute. Got some basketball stuff that I wanted to get off my chest. Number one, in case you all haven't noticed, Phoenix Suns are making news on this particular day. GM Ryan McDonough has stated that Eric Bledsoe will not be rejoining the team. Apparently, Eric Bledsoe tweeted something. He said he was at the salon with his girlfriend when he tweeted it, but I don't have the exact tweet in front of me, but he basically alluded to wanting out. McDonough and those guys were like, I give McDonough credit. He asked him a question. He said, I spoke to him. I asked him. He said that he was at a salon with his girlfriend, and I guess that's what he was alluding to. He said, we don't believe him, and that's that. Well, I made some calls. I have not spoken to the Phoenix Suns yet, in all honesty. But I've made some calls, and I found out that there's more to that story. Number one, Eric Bledsoe met with them in the offseason. That's Ryan McDonough. That is owner Robert Sarver. He informed them that he wants out. That, this is a reclamation project that he no longer wants to be a part of. He wants out. Eric Bledsoe led this team in scoring last year. If you recall, he was sat down for the last 16 games of the season. He was not injured. He was ready to play. They sat him down because they wanted a high draft pick and they didn't need to win any more games. He wants out, and they have to oblige. You look at some of the Phoenix Suns picks, Devin Booker, they better be careful. He'll want out too if this situation continues. I mean, the way they started off, 2 of their first 3 games, they lost their first game, which was at home, by 48 to Portland. And already in 4 outings this year, they've given up 124, 132, 130, and 115 points respectively. 2 of those opponents were playoff contenders. Their defensive rating is 114.2. That means every 100 possessions, the Suns are giving up 114.2 points. I mean, damn, it's just bad. Historically bad defensively. They don't have much. I just don't know what to say. So Eric Bledsoe wants out. Here's what I found out. The Phoenix Suns are willing to unload Eric Bledsoe to the New York Knicks if the New York Knicks are willing to give up Ntilikina, their point guard out of France. The New York Knicks are not willing to let him go. They believe he's long. He's got some athleticism. They believe it's entirely too soon to give up on him because he could end up being somebody that's really, really good. Certain New York Knicks fans out there would think about the prospect of Bledsoe with Porzingis and say, what the hell is there to talk about? Do the deal. But I'm here to tell you that the New York Knicks mentality, at least at this moment, is to hold on to Ntilikina. And that's where they are. They think it's too soon to give up on him. They think his upside could potentially be tremendous. And they think the way of the NBA, the way that it's gone, in terms of guys who are young and long and athletic, is the way to go. And their belief is that because of it, they're going to hold on to him. Eric Bledsoe is a good on-ball defender. He can put up points. He's rough and rugged. And I don't blame him one bit for wanting out of Phoenix. It's a catastrophe there. It's an absolute catastrophe. They have not been impressive. It's been quite an embarrassment. And, that's that. I'm also told that he was prohibited from addressing the media because he wouldn't tell them what he was going to say to the media. And McDonough decided no way in hell should he go in front of the media. How much truth there is to that remains to be seen, but I'm just telling you what's being told. I mean, I'm just looking at some of their picks It just doesn't even make any sense. You know? Yeah, you got Josh Jackson now. You picked him number 4 overall. I mean, I'm just thinking about some of their first-round picks. Dragan Bender, he still don't know how to play. He was your 4th overall pick in 2016. Papagiannis was the 13th overall pick in the same draft. He hasn't amounted to much. Scalas Labassiere, he was the 28th overall pick in 2016. They had 3 first-round picks last year. None has really panned out. Tyler Eulis out of Kentucky was your 2nd-round pick at number 34 overall. You took Devin Booker in 2015 with the 13th overall pick. That clearly has worked out. But that's about it. That really is about it. And then you look at, T.J. Warren for Phoenix, 14th overall in 2014. Bogdanovich, 27th overall. That hasn't really panned out. What about this kid, Alex Len? This is his 5th year in the league. We still haven't heard much about him. The Phoenix Suns just don't have a great record. I'm even hearing stuff about how Mr. Sarver, the owner, has gone into the locker room and drawn up plays for the coach, feeling the need to address things that way. I don't know whether that's true or not. I haven't asked. But this kind of stuff is just embarrassing. It's just embarrassing. So they're going to have to do something. Is it salvageable in Phoenix? I don't know. I just know it's awful now. The New York Knicks can get Eric Bledsoe, but they have to be willing to give up the kid from France, and I am told they are not willing to do that. They're just not at this point. They think it's entirely too early to let go of him because he could end up being big time, and they don't want to be the guy that gave him away for Eric Bledsoe. So that's where they are. The other story that I wanted to get into is everybody's talking about the Greek Freak. I think the Greek Freak is sensational. He's averaging 36 a game. The kid cannot be stopped. He's 6'11" with a handle, with quickness and speed. He can defend and block shots. He can get to the hole against anybody. He finishes at the basket. He's got a lot of heart. He's not scared. He's a star. Hell, he might be a superstar. Let me tell you what he's not. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. He ain't Anthony Davis. You can slice that all the way y'all want to. Y'all can try that nonsense with me all y'all want to. I will remind you that as of right now, Anthony Davis is averaging 31 and 17. I will remind you that Anthony Davis averaged 28 and 12 last year. I will remind you that the Greek Freak shot 27% from three-point range last year. He's shooting 16% from three-point range now, and Anthony Davis is shooting 45% from three-point range. He's a better shooter. He's better with his back to the basket. He can put in just as many points, just as many, if not more rebounds. If you want to say the Greek Freak, say it's because he can play the point. That's about it. Because guess what? Anthony Davis could play any other position, and I'm not sure he can't play that position. And oh, by the way, for guys like Max Kellerman and others who want to act like the Greek Freak is 22 years of age, treating Anthony Davis like he's some senior citizen in need of a AARP card, let me remind y'all of something. Anthony Davis is 24 years old. 24. The brother's got at least another decade in this game. Y'all can act like y'all don't know if you want to. You sleeping on the brother. You sleeping on him. 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-SAY-ESPN. Back to your calls and more in a minute. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! Stephen A. Smith Show, back here with you right here on ESPN Radio. By the way, not to put you to sleep because this show is incapable of doing that, but it doesn't mean you don't need to enjoy a good night's sleep. After all, it does set the pace for your whole day. And guess what? If you snore, you're just not sleeping the way you should or getting the rest that you need. I'm a snorer, so I know what I'm talking about. At least I was, until I acquired the highly recommended device called Zeeper. ZYPPAH, Zeeper. It eliminates snoring and gives you and your loved ones a better night's sleep. To wake up totally refreshed and relaxed, making sure you enjoy those happy Z's. So get a great night's sleep of deeper sleep. Zeepa sleep, that is. Deeper Zeepa sleep. That's what I like to call it. You like how that rhymes? Deeper Zeepa sleep. It's Zeepa, to be honest with you. If you're snoring, you're not getting the Zeepa sleep you need. And don't let the person you sleep with snore and keep you from getting the Zeepa sleep you richly deserve. Get the snorer in your life a Zeepa. That's ZYPPAH. It's Happy Z, spelled backwards. Visit Zeepa.com and check out the new pink Zeepa designed by women for women as well. Folks, listen. I no longer snore, neither should you. Snoring cheats you of sleep and is not fair for the person you sleep with. I don't care what you're doing today. Make sure you get that Zeepa sleep tonight. Go to Zeepa.com, please. That's ZYPPAH.com and get the one thing that's guaranteed to get rid of your snoring. And you can experience Zeepa sleep. Go to Zeepa.com, ZYPPAH.com to get that sleep, that Zeepa sleep tonight. That Zeepa sleep you so richly deserve. 35 minutes past hour number 2. Back here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Before I get back to the phones, let me touch on the World Series just a little bit, please. Dodgers should win this World Series. I love the fact that you see guys on the Dodgers quoted as saying, no matter what you do, if you don't win this all, after 29 years, if you don't win this World Series, the season's a failure. They're absolutely right. You win 104 games after you were once projected to win 116 games. When you went on a streak of like 52-11, even though you lost 16 of 17 at one stretch, you still ended up with the best record in baseball. You got the best pitcher in baseball in Clayton Kershaw. You got the best closer in Jansen. You've got backups like Rich Hill and Yu Darvish. You got a strong bullpen. You've got Sager coming back. You've got Puig in the lineup. You've got Bellinger in the lineup. You've got Turner in the lineup. What's the damn problem? Handle your business. Handle your business. Now, for the sake of objectivity, let's highlight the fact that the Houston Astros are no joke. I think my Yankees would be in the World Series today if it wasn't for Verlander, Justice Verlander, who's got a 1.77 ERA in his last 10 postseason starts, who's been undefeated with an ERA near 1 since he arrived in Houston from Detroit via trade on August 31st, who's been an absolute stud, who seems like there is no kryptonite to his Superman capabilities anytime Kate Upton's in the audience, which she obviously will be for the World Series. But you have to look at that and then also look at this kid Keuchel and what he brings to the table. And when you've got two aces, especially if Mullins pitches the way he pitched against the New York Yankees in Game 7 with 24 straight curveballs that they couldn't find an answer to. I mean, this is a pick'em World Series. But because it's a pick'em, I'm rolling with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Because if there is a Game 6 or a Game 7 in this World Series, refresh my memory, I think those games will be at Chavez Ravine, 2-3-2 format, right? That's what it is. This is what I expect. Let's see if they handle their business. 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-SAY-ESPN. Back to the phones we go. Kurt, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Stephen A., what's happening, man? I called you in week 2. Love the show, man. You said, hey, I said the Rams win 10 games. You said, Kurt, you're going to get arrested. You're on drugs.
Let me stop right now. You're starting to get on my nerves.
What's going on?
You're starting to get on my nerves. Here's why. This is the third time you've called about this very subject. The season ain't over yet. And on top of it all, I've already conceded the Rams look a hell of a lot better. What do you want me to do, give you a massage and a pedicure? I told you the Rams look better. Stop patting yourself on the back and tooting your own horn when the likelihood is that your behind probably wouldn't be able to be found if they wet the bed and lost the rest of their games. Let the season unfold. Be relevant come postseason time for the first time in your adult life, and then I'll take you seriously. But I've already conceded that the Rams are a pleasant surprise. Stop staying on hold and wasting my time just to toot your own horn. Make a different point, because you haven't won 10 games yet.
Sure. Eddie, I'll call you when we get to 10.
All right, do that. Have a nice day. Mike, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead, buddy.
How you doing, man?
I'm good. Talk to me.
I want to touch on two quick topics real quick. Football first. you think it's hype with Carson Wentz and the Eagles, even though they played a mediocre team with the Redskins last night? And the second point I wanted to touch on was Eric Bledsoe. Do you think these young guys going a little too far now about one out of franchise?
No, not really. Not in Bledsoe's case. That's a bad example. Phoenix is an atrocity right now. It's that bad. It's that bad. They can't seem to draft right. They certainly don't seem to win. You don't have free agents that want to go there. Blake Griffin wouldn't even look at them. You couldn't get other marquee free agents to come there. And I mean, Blake Griffin did talk to them, but, it never happened. I mean, who did you get? Nobody wants to go there. And you can't draft. So what's your future looking like?
Okay.
Why should Eric Bledsoe want to stay in that situation? I don't blame him one bit for wanting to leave.
Okay. Now, about the football game last night, you think the Redskins just a bad team without Josh Norman?
I don't think they're a bad team. I don't think they're that good. I think they're an average team who got exposed as being an average team. They'll play competitively. They'll be in a lot of games. They'll win half their games. They'll also lose half of them. That's the problem when I look at the Washington Redskins right now, and I don't view Kirk Cousins as a franchise caliber quarterback. I view him as a guy who can play, but not a difference maker.
And one more quick question for you to give me out. Anthony Davis is the guy you need to start the franchise with. I don't even think is that too much of a comparison with him and Greek Freak.
I wouldn't say it's not a comparison, but Anthony Davis is definitely who I would go with before the Greek Freak, because the Greek Freak still has to learn to shoot. Appreciate the call, Mike. Thank you so much. 866-729-ESPN. Back to your calls to close out the show in a minute. You're listening live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
Give Stephen A. piece of your mind.
He is sorry.
Call him weekdays from 1 till 3 Eastern.
I mean, just trash.
At 866-729-3776.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it.
Let's go to Dominic. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Stephen A., my brother, how's it going?
I'm good. Talk to me, man.
Now, you may not remember yesterday, I was like your first caller. I was talking about how my Skins was going to do yesterday. Now, I'm not disappointed in the game, and I really feel like a lot of people are so in between on Kirk Cousins. I don't know why.
How are you, first of all, how are you not disappointed with last night's game for the Redskins, since you're a Redskins fan? And how are you not disappointed in Kirk Cousins? Explain.
I'm not disappointed in Kirk Cousins because, Kirk Cousins he doesn't play defense, and our defense couldn't stop a nosebleed yesterday,
okay.
After they started getting going. But Kirk Cousins himself had a relatively good game, and he usually does.
He usually does numbers-wise, but when you need him to step up and make a difference when it counts most, he usually comes up short. Am I wrong about that?
You're not wrong. You're not wrong, but I do feel like the defense plays a better role in that than Kirk Cousins per se. Because, like I said, if he can get more opportunities, and remember, the defense is still a work in progress. We still have a lot of young players. A lot of young players played last night. And we're banged up. I think by the end of the season we'll be much better, more like we were in the beginning of the season, because we'll have our players getting back healthy, and the Eagles are a relatively healthy team. All of this
First of all, don't even bring the Eagles into the equation. You lost to them twice already, which means essentially you're 3 games behind them in the division, which means that if you're going to make any run at the playoffs, the only shot you've got is a wild card spot, because you ain't catching the Eagles. That's null and void. That's over. I hope you know that. Have a nice day. Bob, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
Hey, Stephen A., how are you?
I'm good.
Hey, I'm trying to understand something. I don't understand how you can even say it's close between Dak Prescott and Carson Wentz.
Why not?
And here's my point. When you look at how defenses play Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, they look at the box and say, Dak, you beat us. Try and imagine a scenario where they load the box for the Eagles with the weak running game they have and say, Carson, you beat us.
That's fair, but what I'm saying to you is this. Let me reverse that, because that's a very valid point on your part, Bob, and I can't poo-poo that, all right? But let me reverse that. What if Dak Prescott was playing with all of these distractions? What if Dak Prescott had to go into that bubble in Dallas? What if Dak Prescott was under the eye of the storm in that regard? Think about that as well. I think that we can't ignore that. Carson Wentz, first of all, last year he was playing well. Then they nosedived a little bit. over the first 7 games or so here. He's got a few more 100 yards passing. He's thrown 17 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions. Dak Prescott has only thrown like 14 touchdowns. But still in all, they're primarily running the football. They're not focused on a lot of other things as well. I do understand about your point about Carson Wentz. My point is that he's had the luxury of being able to just play football, whereas Dak has to deal with all the drama that comes along with everything that's involved with Dallas Cowboys. It's Ezekiel Elliott, domestic violence, and then whether or not he's going to play or not going to play. It's Jerry Jones and, and the national anthem protest and how everybody better stand and all of this other stuff. It's the bubble and the distractions and the whole Hollywood type atmosphere that is the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think we can ignore that when it comes to the quarterback position, Bob. I'm just of that mindset.
You have to judge them on the field, and the reality is you have never seen a defense step up and say to the Eagles, okay,
Stop right there. I think that Carson Wentz has a better defense than Dallas does to work with. I think his defense is more opportunistic. I think they give him more opportunities and more chances. I think they cover for the Eagles better when they make mistakes than Dallas's defense does with Carson Wentz. I think we can make that argument too, Bob. But call me tomorrow when I've got more time because I only got a couple of minutes left. We'll revisit this tomorrow. Debray, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick, go.
Hey, what's going on, man?
I'm good. Talk to me.
Hey, so I just want to talk about the Phoenix Suns, man. We looking bad, bro. I'm happy Eric Bledsoe is trying to get out of here, man. Who would you think would be a good pick? I was thinking the Bucks, giving us freaking Marks and what's that? Parker for Eric Bledsoe, maybe and Mary.
Oh, that's possible. I mean, if you could get your hands on Jabari Parker, the problem is. Max Kellerman brought up durability, and obviously when you're comparing athletes, you don't look at it that way, but durability has to be a question when you're talking about trading away a player the caliber of Eric Bledsoe. You can't lose him to bring somebody else on board who's always injured. That's not going to work. And the Suns are just a mess. All they have is Devin Booker. They don't have anything else. Brandon Knight, they benched after the All-Star break. Eric Bledsoe, they sat for the last 16 games of last season. They were trying to lose on purpose to get a higher pick. They ended up getting the pick that they got. Now you got Josh Jackson. You got Alex Lynn out of Maryland years ago. Who the hell is that? You had about 4 of the first and second round picks that have amounted to nothing. It's just a disaster. It's just a disaster. But I got to go. Keyshawn in Brooklyn, you're live with Stephen A. What's up? Real quick, you got 30 seconds. You got 30 seconds. Go.
I just wanted to ask, with D-Wade deciding to want to come off the bench for the Cavs, do you think that's going to help improve their bench for the long run?
I think so. I think D-Wade, listen, D-Wade has an opportunity. He can either be a starter this year, and this is last year, and he diminishes his value, or he goes to the bench and revitalizes his career because he comes off the bench, he's productive. Everybody recognizes that, and they're looking to give him a 2 to 3 year deal where he could pocket an extra $20 to $30 million. It's one or the other. So if you're D-Wade, you made the right move by going to the bench. More importantly, he has the maturity to be more productive coming off the bench than J.R. Smith would be at this stage in his career because J.R. Smith waited for the opportunity to start. He was a former Sixth Man of the Year. Now he's a champion as a starter at the 2-guard spot who's become their best perimeter player, who's considerably younger than D-Wade and believes he's better at this stage than D-Wade. And over the course of lengthy minutes, he actually is because he's healthier. So I think it's the right move for all parties concerned, and I think it puts Cleveland in the best position possible.
Great, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Got to get on out of here for the day. Hope y'all enjoyed listening to the show. I'll be back tomorrow, 22 hours from now. We got NFL to discuss, NBA to discuss, and Game 1 of the World Series. Go Dodgers, handle your business. Yankees, that's another story. Peace and love.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.